Alright, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you're all doing well, and welcome to this community showdown. It's going to be the dinosaurs led by Silvos facing off against the demons of chaos, who shall be helmed by Captain Pinchy here on Chateau de Roquefort. Kind of a lore matchup, right? You know, Lizardmen are a very, very old people, and they certainly did some battle with the demons of chaos, so here we are for round 2. Now, Kroqy is going to be the lore choice, so seeing Kroqy Balboa is always quite fun, and honestly, against demons of chaos, seems like he has some applications, with hell cannons being very popular, and of course, occasionally you'll see greater demons and a couple other large targets like that. His anti-large is kind of nice for hunting those targets down, and the Hand of the God. So 2 charges of this. It does magic damage, it does fire damage, so good to be good against Nurgle monsters, potentially very good at sniping something like a skull cannon. So curious to see how this will do. The rest of the army here is going to be a battle line of skink cohorts with Saurus warriors, so very standard stuff. Rev Crystal in the back to provide a little bit of healing to Kroqy Balboa and potentially some of the other dinos on the battlefield. And last but not least, we do have the Umbral Tide. So this is the ROR of the Salamander Hunting Pack. And a good choice. It has stock, so it's going to be able to creep up and get some good salvo fire off before it potentially gets countered by some of the very swift demons. And I think there's some Vanguard as well. Yes, we do have 2 Chameleon Skinks, and they're going to be able to move up. And I do think that in this matchup, the Chameleon Skink probably is pretty good. Demons of Chaos do have a fair amount of shooting via the Tzeentchian shooting, so having the missile mitigation that the Chameleon Skinks do have and the loose formations is pretty good. And yeah, it's actually 40%. Very, very cool stuff. Now, looking at the Demons of Chaos from Captain Pinchy, he's got a pretty cool army. He's going to be rocking the Slaanesh Lord, so we do have the Exalted Keeper of Secrets, who's going to be using what spells? We have the Lash, as well as the Ballet of Blows and Seductive Glory. So basically just going to be spamming Lash and getting the Slaanesh Lore passive, which is 12 melee attack across the army. Out of the front, we do see some Fiends. Fiends are a very good unit as well, but they do take a lot of damage from light poke, like Chameleon Skinks. We have a Skull Cannon back here, going to be the ROR, and the rest of the army is going to be very cheap Nurglings, considering how expensive the rest of the force is. In the back, we got Bloodletters and Plague Bearers. You know, both are good choices, honestly. Plague Bearers are good against, I would say, Lizardmen, because they probably will beat a Saurus head-to-head, and a Bloodletter will do the same, but they're both very vulnerable against the lizard shooting as well as monsters. So on the objectives, we do see Objective 2 going to the dinos out of the gates with their skirmishers, but that is going to be flipped by the demons here in a minute. And Objective 3 is also taken by the Demons of Chaos, or not also, but is taken by the Demons of Chaos here as the dinos are going to move up. And it looks like dinos are going to make a play for Objective 3, and then maybe move in towards Objective 2 with their big Saurus kind of front battle line. On the outside, demons calling in some mobility. The dreaded Seekers, insanely powerful unit. I mean, they're still a glass cannon for sure. 5 armor, really in a low HP pool. They can fold up very quickly if they're focused fired by missiles, but if they're able to get their charge, they can kill pretty much anything. They're obviously not into like brace spears or something like that. But yeah, these guys can do a ton of work. Looks like they're going to be trying to chase down the Chameleons, but the Chameleons do have the support of some Feral Cold Ones, which would get wrecked pretty badly here. Although with the Chameleon Skinks putting a little bit of poking fire in, maybe it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. But yeah, this is going to be a doomed unit of Feral Cold Ones. Although it looks like Captain Pinchy is going to miss the charge, which is a big blunder. Seekers really want to get that charge off. They have a sweet charge bonus. And yeah, you could still see they are going to get the kill on this. But you know, at the end of the day, the Feral Cold Ones do trade back a little bit, considering how bad of an engagement that was for them. And it looks like there's going to be some Witchcraft going down as well. So we do see a Urandan's Thunderbolt. Okay, where is that Lizardman caster? Is he flying? Yes, we have a Skink Priest of Heavens, and he does get a pretty good Thunderbolt on the Seekers. And the Feral Cold One's being pretty Giga Chad over here, hanging in there and battling the Fiends, but will inevitably be breaking here. So Ballet of Blows not activated. No, it's going to be the Seductive Glory. So that is the bound AoE Rampage ability on the Exalted Keeper of Secrets. It's extremely good, and Keeper of Secrets are probably one of the most Slaanesh units in terms of like flavor and function. Like they're just super powerful, like good duelists, but also a little bit squishy. So if you don't use them with a lot of finesse and grace, I dare say here, they can die pretty quickly here. So up on the high ground, we do have our first battle line engagement. It's going to be the Saurus warriors battling it out with the Nurglings, and Kroqy Balboa getting in there. He does pop the something of Itzel, the swiftness of Itzel. That's right. You almost never see him, but he does do a lot of damage against that Hellforge Bellower. And I'm assuming that he probably did use his Hand of the Gods, which is his laser beam ability, his sci-fi weaponry, and did get some great DPS on the Hellforge Bellowers. Now, Kroqy a little bit overextended, and he does get surrounded by Seekers, but thankfully for Kroqy, the Seekers aren't able to get the full surround on him because of the Plague Bearers. Now, if this was an open field fight, Kroqy would probably be taking a ton of damage, but a lot of the units that are surrounding him are the Plague Bearers, which are preventing the Seekers from getting a full surround. And this is going to be a really good punish right here. The Thunderbolt's going to be fat damage. Although they moved out of the way pretty well. It still does melt the Plague Bearers, does a little bit of damage against Seekers, but you know, could have been worse. So we do see Kroqy rampaged here by the Pavane of Slaanesh. I did miss that Pavane was on the toolkit as well. And Ballet of Blows, 593 weapon strength with anti-large, high melee attack there at 59. Kroqy Balboa could be in a little bit of trouble, and he does start taking a lot of damage here, but, he does have a Rev Crystal on the table, so if he can escape this situation, it's not going to be the end of the world. There will at least be some healing on the books. So Demon needs to make sure to focus fire Kroqy. This is an opportunity to get a kill with Seekers nearby as well. It's fat damage, and Kroqy Balboa, he's maybe going to hear the bell. He's wavering and potentially going to be running. I always thought it was a little bit weird that Kroqy was an ITP. He's like this ancient warrior who literally was like bred to fight chaos. It is what it is. There's weirder units in the game that have like immune psychology. Like you think Kroqy would be more brave than a Black Orc, for example. Black Orcs are, yeah, super elite and whatnot, but like Kroqy is kind of on another level. Just kind of a strange oversight to me, but looking at Objective 2, we do see that that is going to be held by the Demons of Chaos as Objective 1. Objective 3 in the clutches of the Dinosaurs, and Captain Pinchy is up to a value lead right now. Lizards in the backfield, looks like they were able to keep their Umbral Tide alive during all this chaos. And where are they going to be shooting now? Umbral Tide can shoot a number of demons. Honestly, okay against Nurglings. They want to be shooting large targets, but they do enough, light damage to melt down the demonic units. As you can see, the Bloodletters here getting cooked a little bit, taking some HP damage, and certainly not enjoying that. Now, Fiends of Slaanesh going for an attack on the Skink Priest. He's a pretty weak fighter. 17 and 21 is his current stat line, as he does get afflicted by the Soporific Musk. But there's going to be a countercharge coming in from Feral Cold Ones to try and help. And in the sky, the Lizards have called in the Clossodon Hunters. Kroqy is still hanging in there, man. He's champing it. And, honestly, a lot of demons crumbling here. The Seekers were crumbled. The little skin cohorts are fighting pretty well despite fighting Bloodletters. And Lizardmen are still very much in this game. Remember, they have a lot of healing in the roster in general. Although I guess it's only one Rev Crystal on the table here, so it's not going to be a ton. And Kroqy Balboa could be in trouble. The Greater Demon is going to be hunting this bad boy down, but he loses focus and gets caught on this unit. So, man, if he had been spam clicking a little bit more, Kroqy probably would have died there, and that would have been maybe a GG situation. But now that Kroqy Balboa is alive, just like in the movies, Rocky's going to get knocked down, and he's going to come back and still provide utility, and that means that the Lizard army isn't going to be having leadership problems also. And look at this, big isolation coming in, Umbral Tide, as well as the Chameleon Skinks and the Clossodon Hunters catching the overextending Keeper of Secrets, who now is going to be paying the Troll Tolls. Kroqy is alive with 700 HP, and yeah, this is a huge game-changing play. Honestly, Demons of Chaos were looking to be in a more dominant position, but now that this is happening, when you lose this big Greater Demon, oh my god, it's getting obliterated, and the Hand of the Gods from Kroqy! The MLG snipe, dude, that is the most Rocky Balboa moment ever, right? The antagonist knocks him down, he's on the ropes, he's having flashbacks of his wife and of Mick, and then, he gets up and gets the killing blow to the the Ivan Drago or Clubber Lang or whatever. Whatever antagonist, whatever Rocky Balboa villain they're not all villains per se. I mean, Apollo Creed is, he's not necessarily a villain, I would say. Here we do have the Skink cohorts moving up and the Feral Cold Ones. Although, Clubber's pretty villainous, and Ivan, I mean, if you include the later Rocky movies where you kind of learn about Ivan's history and, some of the circumstances around the early fights and whatnot, yeah, he kind of has a bit of a redemption arc in those. But, if you're just looking at like Rocky 4 and like those ones, yeah, different story. Anyways, rant for another day. So we do get the Kroqy heal going down, so that is going to be healing him up. And honestly, Lizardmen are looking to be in a very good position now. That Greater Demon was the carry piece, and Demons are a faction that have actually really stalwart leadership. There was a time when Demons would just fold up super easily because their leadership didn't really match to how punishing disintegrating was. But CA did fix that and gave them a nice little leadership buff. But now that the Lord is gone, there's going to be a lot more disintegration, and they're going to be having problems. But the Demons do still have a objective lead, 728 against 348 at the moment. Lizards do have a lot of time to grind this out, though. It's still pretty early in the game here at the 7-minute mark, and we do have a call into Bloodletters of Khorne. Pretty good killing unit, but they're going to be very vulnerable against the Umbral Tide. And I wonder if the Lizardmen have any anti-infantry monsters. Clossodon Hunters are anti-large, though honestly, in my experience, they still do pretty good against infantry. I find they can rip them up, and you can see these Bloodletters are, as we talk about that, being ripped to shreds by these Riperdactyls, so they might as well have bonus versus infantry, too. But down go the Bloodletters. Objective's going to be flipping. Demons are looking really, really rough on the battlefield, guys. They got Seekers of Slaanesh here. They got some Plague Bearers and some Bloodletters over here, but I don't see any chance to come back. I'm going to do a little bit of fast forwarding because I don't want to insult your intelligence by acting like we have much of a game here anymore. Holding this for this long, I mean, Demons of Chaos do have some tanky elements, but for the most part, it's not going to be enough. More Seekers coming in. Seekers do a ton of damage, of course, but they're going to be running into a ton of chaff units and light poking damage from the Salamanders and the Skinks, which isn't going to be fun for them. That's a Lizard triple cap here. Objective 1, 2, and 3 captured. Demons basically just making desperation plays, trying to grab objectives, but at this point, Dinos can just win on 2, so they're very comfortable to just kind of poke and use their overwhelming force to just keep bullying the Demons on pretty much every point. Yep, you can see disintegration. Everything's going into the pits, and probably going to be seeing a tap out from Captain Pinchy here pretty soon. That was a game that really came down to one key moment, right? It was like Kroqy was running. The Demons of Chaos player had Kroqy within 1 or 2 kills, or 1 or 2 strikes to finish him off. If the Demons player gets the kill there, it's a completely different game. And then if he escapes with his Greater Demon. But the Greater Demon being surrounded and karate chop by all that shooting, it's beautiful. 2,500 here. Skinks did really good damage as well. It was just a really, really nice match and super fun stuff. I always like seeing the Demons of Chaos and Lizardmen in actions. It's a lot of fun. And Kroqy too. Like, it gets so boring seeing Slan, but when you see the Chad Kroqy come in, that's the way it should be. All right, folks, take care of yourselves. That's it for today, and hopefully you enjoyed this one.